Looks good, Brett. Derek. Morning, Derek.
Can you hear us?
I can hear, yes. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
Test, test, test,
No, there was a couple.
test, test, test,
Yeah, and I have those, but those were, actually, one of those was
yes.
printed in the book. I know
Yes.
both of them were.
test, test.
Okay.
Derek, do you remember seeing a letter from Liz Wallace?
Jason said something about it, but I didn't have one from
I
him.
think it's like 2 sentences in there somewhere. It's really short.
Can you? Derek? They can't hear me. Test, 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 test. 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 Sarah, can you hear me? Test, test. Test.
All right, it is 8 o'clock. We will call the meeting to order. We have an agenda in front of you. First order of business would be to
Sorry,
approve the
make a
agenda.
motion to adopt the agenda.
A motion. A
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries. All right, we'll move on to facilities improvement discussion.
We went to the city council meeting last night and we got the verbal approval.
I'm
to
here.
vote To
Okay.
move forward with our bond issue, accepting that it passes tonight and passes vote. Along with that, it has to also pass KDHE. I mean, they have to approve what the engineers and the construction council do also. So pending, I guess normal circumstances, it should be passed to the city council.
What was the vote at the city council?
3-2.
I've got a few thoughts.
Carry on.
We're right in the middle of our superintendent search, which just takes, I think I'm the only person on the board that's been through that before. And it takes a lot of meetings and a lot of thought. I don't have anything against the bond. I think we need to just concentrate on our superintendent search. Get the new superintendent on board. And then come back to the bond.
Who do you have on the phone, Derek?
Sid,
That's it.
for some reason, we can't hear him. That way, if you got questions.
Can you hear me now?
Yep,
Yes.
we got you.
And we can take it to the the November general election real easy. That's just my thoughts.
Sid, what do you see differences between November general elections
Morning, Jason.
special election in May.
Probably the primary difference I see,
No, I don't think we can hear it for some reason.
test, 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 test.
You'll have to talk through the phone.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, it's a little bit awkward since I'm hearing myself over my speaker, so I'm gonna unmute myself every time I stop speaking. Okay, the primary issue I see is that we've got a steering committee who has really come together. And Dylan can probably speak to this. Judy can probably speak to this. The steering committee process was not easy, and Andrew's there. He can probably speak to it. We went had a lot of different ideas, had a lot of discussion, and they came together at the last meeting on the 27th. And then you guys heard them speak to you last Thursday on the 30th. And I feel like so that's the group that would pass this. And my sense is that there's now some momentum within the group itself, and it's really gelled. And I think to put that group on pause and then try to pick it up again in September, which would be what we'd have to do for a November vote, it's going to be hard, or we're going to stop the momentum, I guess is what I'm saying. So that would be the primary drawback that I see. So I'm unmuting myself now.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Specifically to the point, Tom, about Derek leaving and hiring a new superintendent, we thought, had the same questions as that, but looking at it, I mean, Mr. Reinhardt's been here for quite a while, and he knows the ins and outs of the school by now, where as if you wait to hire a new guy, he's gonna be not as familiar with all of our needs and everything. And so you're gonna hire somebody that doesn't know what the school needs, and then it's gonna be, he might say, we need to put this bond on pause for a year or two until we figure out, like, I need to reassess all of this and figure out what I think we need, so it feels like it would hinder the progress of this by just more than just November. I guess in my opinion, is you get an interim guy or a new superintendent in here that doesn't know what's going on as much as what Mr. Reinhardt does.
Can I add something else? We're not just looking at a new gym, we're looking at new heating for our schools. You guys who have been on the board, you already know how possibly it could be if our boiler systems go down. We already have lost heat in part of our building. And to put it off another 6 months, you're increasing the chance of losing heat for our kids.
I don't want to be disrespectful, but we wanted to fix the problems that we have. So don't hang that boiler on me, because we wanted to fix that. And then we were presented with a $25 million total cost of $50 million with interest fix. So don't hang that. We might lose heat on me, because obviously it wasn't very important to the committee to fix the problems. They wanted their dreams too. So that's what I'm dealing with here. This is 50 million total dollars. The cost of the project. It's going to cost some people in this community a very large amount of money. My question to Sid is, as I reviewed Lacrosse's process,
Is he still on there?
where's he gone?
Go ahead. He can hear you.
Okay.
We just can't hear him.
I gathered from reading that it was a longer process. Then it sounded like they come up with about a $15-16 million idea. It sounded like then it went to, they did a feasibility study of the community. And the article said that they realized that they would not be able to get something that large passed. So they ended up at 10.9 or whatever it was. And then it passed very easily. We are about, I assume we're about the same size of a school district. We're talking a $25 million bond. Was there no need for a feasibility study on a $25 million bond when you did one on a $15 or $16 million bond? That's my question.
Go ahead, Sid.
Okay, so again, I know the process, we weren't involved until after the board made that decision. So the $16 million concept that you're referring to ballooned to 22 after COVID. And yes, the facilities committee had that. Their asks were that size of a project. The board said we're not going to go beyond 10 million. And later on, after some discussion, they went to 11 with 10.975. So that's the bond issue that passed. And then after that, they added, I think the total cost is now 13 million with some additional funds that they kicked in. So.
And I believe the mandate from the board that we were interested in a $10 million bond. And I don't know why that didn't happen. Is that what we said?
Do you guys feel like this is possible? And I asked that because since our meeting Thursday night, I've heard from a lot of people. I started getting phone calls shortly after I put my kids on the bus Friday morning. I have not had one single person tell me that they're in favor of $25 million and a gym on the street. And that's the wording they used. I'm not in favor of a $25 million project with the gym in the middle of the street. So then I have concerns that this is even passable. And so, if you guys already worry that November is too late, then if this doesn't pass, then we're how much further down the road with the needed concerns. So do you guys feel like, is that the input you guys are getting from the community, is that this is what they want? Because it's not the input that I have gotten in the last 4 or 5 days.
I would echo Lori's thoughts. That's what I've been told.
See, and I've had the opposite. So maybe it's because I was on the committee, but I've had the opposite, people saying, yes, absolutely, let's do this. So
Yeah, I'm kind of, Judy, even that last night meeting, we had more talk, and it sounds like I think it's a solid possibility that it would pass to the public.
but I don't know. What about you guys?
Well, I think at the end of the day, 2 things. First being to put off the possible vote. I'm not sure what you gain. I think the process is is to start a process. And, you know, at the end of the day, you know, we came up with what the majority of the committee people wanted. And interestingly enough, for the most part, the younger generation on the committee was the ones that were thinking further ahead. But at the end of the day, when you're looking at it, you've got, if you add in, you know, the infrastructure improvements that need to be done, which are somewhere around 7 million. If you refurbish the auditorium, which I personally feel like needs to be done. If you do anything with the locker room areas, which I think is imperative and should have been done 15 years ago. When you add those things up, you get yourself to somewhere probably around 11 to 12 million. I'm not exactly sure because we had so many different scenarios thrown at us. It was really difficult to discern that. Might have been more like 13. My personal opinion was for the smaller gym, but I was by far in the minority. The second gym is a practice gym, is something that the community is going to need.
And is that included in the 13 million type
There
figure?
wasn't, no.
No, I don't think it was there until you hit 17 or 18.
So what we ended up with was a situation where it was unusually, it was a small amount. I wouldn't say small. It was
Percentage wise.
it wasn't that much more to go across the street with the full competition gym. So that's the direction that the committee elected to go. Well, we don't have any idea what goes on in your meetings over the past however many years, whether or not infrastructure's been handled properly backwards and what you were expecting in this bond issue to go forwards with. We were simply tasked with a bond issue to come up with what the committee thought that we should do. And so that's what we can do. And you can look at it multiple different ways. It's horribly expensive. There's no question about that. That being said, whether or not the public gets a shot at looking at it or not, that's how the process starts. So you can put the process off 6 months, put the process off 2 years. You can look at it again, things deteriorate, or you can start the process and the public vote on it. I don't think there's any need to be mad about it, Jason. You may not like it. We don't like what stuff costs. But there it is.
Yes, I mean, I don't think we would have put this forward to you guys if we didn't.
Does it concern anybody on the committee that it might be an overinflated bid? Because you guys know what our ag shop is. Do you realize there is a bid to renovate the ag shop for $1,030,000?
Well, we didn't hire a contractor.
We didn't.
We didn't come up with a number.
Well, I'm just saying that
Numbers.
that looks to me like
Well, we were done. Yeah, does it? Of course it does.
that seems ridiculous.
Yeah,
So
I ask.
We asked those questions a lot.
You
I
know,
mean,
you asked this question. So here's an example. The concession stand between the football field. You know, one of the things that we cut out was rejuvenating the concession stand and bathrooms underneath the football stadium. Their thought process was to go over where the baseball diamond is and put a set of public restrooms there and a concession stand and do away with what's underneath. Not a bad idea. Well, the cost of that building was, as I recall, somewhere around $350,000. So I asked Colby, who had just gotten through with Marvin Gross, putting a new set of public restrooms in the city park, what that cost, and he said, well, it cost about $100,000. It was originally going to cost about 60, and they made it a little bit bigger, and you have what you have with the covered area. You put walls on that, you've got a concession stand, because all that is a room of plugins. So, you know, I know the city park got that done with Marvin for $100,000. So is that a concern? Of course it's a concern. That we didn't hire the contractor. We don't know who we're working with. We were tasked with doing what we were doing. If, you know, and your question is, do you think this will pass? I don't think it'll pass. Younger generation thinks they have a shot at it. I don't know. Do I wish it was cheaper? Oh, yeah.
I've got a question for Sid. I'm just wondering how come La Crosse can build a new grade school and a new gym for 11 million.
You hear that, Sid?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. You're doing a whole lot of deferred maintenance that they're not doing is part of it. The budgeting we've submitted is well, it's for a similar size project on top of all that maintenance. So that's where the numbers come up to. And again, I just want to clarify one thing. These are not bids. These are budgeting numbers. The bidding process happens after plans are drawn. So,
And I believe 6 months down the road, there'll be cheaper interest rates. Do I know that for sure? But that's what I think. I think interest rates will come down. And if we're going to do any size of bond, if we even get 1% down, is a sizable amount of money. Because I'm not sure, I'm a little scared that we can't find a candidate that wants to drop into the middle of this. If I was a candidate, I'd think maybe I need to do something else.
Where are we at with the track? I mean, I know that's been what, 2-3 years, maybe more than that, since we resurfaced it. And we knew then that that was not any sort of permanent fix. So where are we at? in that
Structural
window?
spray
We need to do a leveling,
was recommended, whatever. I don't remember. We haven't ever done that I'm aware of.
we need to do a leveling layer, another layer of rubber and then structural spray. That's not part of the bond.
Right, and what's the cost for that?
I think when we originally did that, that additional cost. $70,000-$80,000.
And that is something that we
I'm
need to
guessing it's
be
more
looking
than
at
that.
right now. I mean, it's time.
I mean, the longer you wait, the more rubber you have to put down. So cost is gonna go
And I
up.
mean, it is coming up on the edges and stuff. So.
I guess I would rather you gave the board more options. The 25, somewhere between 10 and 25 million of different options and bonds. So that the board could maybe consider it like we chose our current member here. And so.
I just say that out of all the concepts, I was not there at that final Monday night meeting when they came up with the
primary concept to present to you. But out of all the concepts that I remember being discussed, there was nothing under 13.5 million.
Okay,
And that I would say was the bare bones
I mean,
concept. And that
do it
was,
all, want to form a committee.
because the mandate came from the board for 10 million to fix things.
I know, but I mean, what was a committee for if you guys want to do all the planning?
We're just here to approve it.
I guess I
mean,
can
if you
answer
want a
what,
bunch of options.
I can answer what my thought was.
Basically what we did.
My thought was we had an idea of several things that we wanted to do. So I guess I was understanding that a committee would look through that, rank out the things that we thought we had addressed that needed fixed, and then kind of secondly review what we had thought, and then we would decide collectively what to fix. I guess I didn't realize we were ready for an expansion project. I mean, I was totally zoned that we were going to fix our problems. I have real concerns that where is the money going to come to run the school if you've just tied the hands of the school district for 25 years with a massive, massive bond? We're going to have to ask for more money per year to maintain this school because, and you for 25 years, you have no golden carrot. We can't pass another bond. So I have really big concerns about maintaining the rest of these facilities for that 25 years. Otherwise, we're going to raise tax. We're going to ask for our maximum allotment. That
I think, I mean, we're gonna have to raise our like outside of the bond, we're gonna have to raise because this is gonna cost so much more to heat, to cool, to keep the lights on, to maintain. I mean, that's gonna be a significant increase in cost.
And
So-
was there any numbers figured out on that?
Very, very rough.
Rough estimates, and again, it's just square footage, I'm guessing, utilities. Petrol gas could be anywhere between $20,000 and $30,000 a year for that 28,000 square feet addition. And then you're looking at probably somewhere between 12 and 16 or 18 in insurance costs.
And that's a teacher's salary right there just to heat and cool the space. I mean, that's what I have concerns about beyond what this is. I mean, is it a cool plan? Yes. But we still have to be able to function as a district after that. And that's what I have serious concerns about right now. We've been working really hard to raise the base for our teachers so that we're competitive within the area. And I feel like that's what we're going to begin. I mean, is that wrong in thinking that, Derek, that that's what we may begin to fall behind on?
Very well could be.
And that's something that I have really worked hard since I've been on the board, is to get the base teaching salary up to what, so that, like, I would like to be a little bit higher than Hodgman County, a little bit higher than Dighton, a little bit higher than Waukene and La Crosse, so that whenever we have teachers that want to come back to this area, we have a recruiting advantage. And we've been working really hard at that. And if that goes by the wayside, I mean, we already have trouble getting applicants for positions and stuff. And so that's what my concerns is. Not that this isn't a cool plan, wouldn't be a great thing, an asset to our community. It's just how we function as a district past this. I mean, if this passes and it's up, it's fantastic. But where are we at financially as a district moving forward? That's where my concerns lie at.
I don't disagree at all. I mean, both of you guys, things that I haven't thought about, but on the stance to bring more qualified and more personnel in, I think a new structure and a new building with, better opportunities does bring in more people also when it comes to hiring. And
I think it brings in a basketball coach candidate or a volleyball coach candidate. I'm not sure that it brings in elementary school teaching candidates unless they're also coaches. I'm not sure that it benefits us that much in that area.
Now, don't forget that this, the focus on the gymnasium, but infrastructure improvements and total refreshing of the schools, making rooms better and nicer and better lighting. The things that need to be done at the school today is also involved in this.
Right.
And
To a point.
That's the area where, I guess when you're doing your walkthrough with your teachers, yeah, don't look at this, we're gonna fix it one of these days. Doesn't sound like a very good way to hire either.
And I guess I can say I've been on negotiations for the last 4 years. It's time to negotiate salary. It's always been, well, we can't add much more to the teacher's salary because we've got to also budget for heating. We've also got to budget for, what if the boiler goes out? Or, we've got to have that money held there. So that has been one of the reasons why we've been told we're not getting raises. And that's why I've been such in favor of having a bond, because then it's going to help our teacher salary. Because that all of those things are going to be fixed through the bond and not through the money that we pay to teachers.
I know there's lots of questions that you guys are trying to answer in the future, but you can't answer. I mean, I don't think you can answer yet, obviously, if this goes through, this doesn't go through or anything like that. To me though, that comes back to the simple question is, you're making a yes or no vote to get the whole community to say yes or no. And they may say no, it may be well, overwhelmingly no, and that's what it is. That's what the community tells us. I just know that the facility committee that was gathered, 20-ish people is what I thought is about as good a representative of our school district that I know that I've been working with, long enough. When Gary's kids were here, now Gary's grandkids are here and everything like that. So it was a good and the discussions they had, and I know Dylan was part of that, Judy was part of it every now and then, a meeting here and there that you guys were attending and stuff like that, but I don't know, sharing personal feelings, I guess I just, God dang, let's send it to the voters, see what they say. They may tell us 70% no, and that's what it is, that's what it is. But I know Thursday night, I wasn't there Monday, because I honestly had zero faith concept number 9 would have been the chosen concept you guys come up with, when you guys come together, it was, I think I marked it on that initial ballot that we did through email. I marked it number 3 with the note that, truly it isn't, because it gets everything and it gets the future. But I will say this, just, God dang, I'm rambling, I'm sorry. The Thursday night reading and hearing the testimony of all of the people on that committee, I hadn't had necessity pride that strong in me in a long time. I loved that meeting. I loved hearing the voices from the committee, reading those that couldn't be there, reading their words. Man, that was a good vibe. It was a good vibe, that a progressiveness city that we need back. Somewhere this town lost the progressives. Took forever to get a dang little public pool. Never been there. It looks like a nice little facility now. But took forever for this city to even get that going. It's not killed the vibe. See, I mean, if the registered voters come out, whatever that day is in May, and said no, we'll go back to the drawing board. They'll have a new superintendent. Hopefully by then that'll take us, through whatever it has to, changes have to be. let me ramble that too.
My feeling is that this committee got together, I think I've said it before. Variety of incomes, throughout business owners, non-business owners. It was like an amazing group of people, teachers. I mean, we had everybody. What, Tom?
There was not a variety of incomes there. 80% of them were in the same level.
Were you there? Did you see who all was there?
Yeah, I got them written down in my, because you
Okay,
kept
they
telling
were
me
all-
that this was a variety of people. It wasn't.
Did you guys think it was a variety of people?
Yeah.
I don't.
Did you look at everyone's income tax reports?
Yes,
I mean-
no, I didn't.
Well,
But then how do you
how the hell
know?
do you know?
I've
I
lived
mean,
here my
just-
whole life.
So you know everyone's income.
I know pretty close. I don't know their income.
That's
Derek,
what
how
I'm
many
saying,
people
their
were
income,
invited to
their-
be part of that committee? Total numbers.
24, 23, 24.
Did you have some drop out because they didn't like the plan?
I don't know
I
if
don't-
they
I
dropped
don't-
out
not at all.
specifically because they didn't
Never
like the
told me
plan.
anything
There's
verbally anyway. If they did, they did. I mean,
Okay. I didn't think it was a diverse group.
Okay, well, I was there listening to everybody and thought it was a diverse group, but
What I saw about the group was a lot of heavy property taxpayers involved in the group. That's what I saw in the group, Tom, was a group of people that this was gonna deem harder than the average person in this city. That's what I saw in the group. I was a little surprised at that. That group was full of people that this bond issue will hurt as hard as it'll hurt you personally, if not harder.
I wouldn't agree with that, Gary.
my point is that we had this committee together and we had discussions, we had fights, we had everything. And we're here to say, yes, move forward, let the community vote, or no. Go back to the drawing board. And I just have a feeling that like some of the committee members will be like, you know, we worked hard on this. And if you don't let the community vote on it, then I'm not sure I'll be serving on another committee. You know, I mean, just, it was a struggle. And I just feel like we, as a board, said, make this committee. They did their job. And now all I'm hearing is you guys did a horrible job on the committee.
I
So-
never said that. Never said.
If that's the perception that the committee has, I'm really sorry about that. But I do believe that my position, and I don't speak for anybody else up here, that my position is to ask the questions. And that is what I have tried to do diligently. That's what I try to do whenever I come to every single board meeting, because I have been sent here and I feel like that's what I've been tasked with. So I don't really appreciate that insinuation that by asking questions
I'm
that I
not
have
saying that,
insulted
Lori.
anybody.
I'm just
Because
saying
that's
that
certainly
there's-
not what I set out to do. And I feel like we have to ask the hard questions. And if we can't have some conversation back and forth, then why have we even bothered thus far? And I don't think that it has to be done with any sort of malice. That's certainly not where I come from. And I don't think that it has to be perceived as that either. So I find that really frustrating.
Because I actually think the plan's a pretty cool plan. I just don't like the money side of it. There's a few things that I would change. A lot of teachers have voiced that they like the kids walking back and forth between the schools. When I've watched the kids, they seem pretty happy. They're running, skipping, laughing. They enjoy the fresh air. How you get that done, I don't know, but if there's somebody that wants to, building some heady stuff now.
Yeah, on a lot of days, it is fun to watch the kids go back and forth. I would agree. However, from a safety perspective, every time you expose the kids outside, this is what I looked at it as. Every time you put those kids outside, you possibly putting them in danger.
So are we gonna quit doing outdoor recess then? Once this is built, is that what the plan is, to quit doing outdoor recess at the school?
No, not necessarily, but that's always gonna be a concern, but the less that you can cut back on having children exposed.
I guess there wouldn't be any reason why they couldn't walk outside. Even if it was built, right?
That's true.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions for Sid? Questions for the committee or vice versa?
I'm gonna add to it is, you have a list of all of us. When you have those questions, like, why did they come up with this idea? Why do you need a gym? And since you guys who didn't serve on our committee, that's what we're here for. That's what we signed up for. You can refer them to us. I would be happy to talk to people, and I'm sure the rest of the committee would too. Why did we come up with this idea? You know, if they have questions and you don't know how to answer them, refer them to us.
I believe that's next, if you guys vote to take it to an election, I believe that's the next phase of the committee is to get word out to the public in a positive light.
Well, I can speak for myself. I really wanted a bond to fix the problems we had, to address our immediate problems. I see a need for a second gym. I don't see a need personally for a gym that extravagant. I think we could have built a practice gym. I personally don't want to, I mean, it's gonna cost me $200,000 over the 25 years. I'm really not, personally, I am not interested in doing that. But as a elected school board member, I mean, I do understand that, I appreciate the fact that people need to vote on it. But I will not be promoting this because I do not feel like spending $200,000 on that project, my money. I would have been 100% behind something that was much less and addressed the needs that we had. But I'm not for a massive expansion project. So if I would vote to have it go to the public, do not expect me to promote this thing. Because I don't support it.
I guess I would say I've been elected to school board 4 times. And those people that voted for me know what they're going to get. I'm very conservative, and I believe they voted me to vote for them. And I am like Lori, I didn't get one positive vibe from anybody. And it's going to hurt me pretty bad too, in my opinion. But I think it's my job to look out for the taxpayer. That's been my number one thing since the very beginning that I've been on the board. Maybe not number one, but it's been one of them. I try to strike a balance between all the entities, or at least I try.
Could I ask, and I know this is a question just kind of leading going forward. And I'm not even sure Derek or whether this is prudent or not at this point. you guys have had a chance to digest the sticker shock. And I guess, so my question to the Board of Education would be, if not this number, what number do we have to work with? No. Jason's already said he understands the need for a gym, so, so now, I just want to hear, I want to hear if the board has a number, because they're focused on, you guys are focused on this number. And,
To answer your question,
and so, you're, you know, if not this number, then what number would you promote?
I would like to, like if the county buys a road grader, they solicit bids, a few bids on a road grader. If we're talking about improvements and there's general consensus that we do need as a community, a second gym to help with practice schedules and things. I mean, is it too much to ask to see a couple or three different options, including a second gym? Maybe one that is east of the high school that ties into our high school, maybe one that is north of the high school that ties into our high school. Because I am not anti second gym. I'm pro second gym, but the increased insurance and roofs and connecting two things over us, that is the most expensive place to build, I'm guessing, on top of that street over a sewer main. So I don't know. I just feel like I'd like to see a couple realistic concepts with a gym, because obviously that sounds like that's something that a lot of people want. Everybody knows we need to fix the school up. And then it sounds like we would really like to have a second gym to address that main concern. I would like to see a couple concepts with that in there, maybe a couple different ideas. And maybe some of them concepts would come in at a 10, 12. The nice thing about having a second concept, if it happened to come in at 16, then you're giving me the opportunity to tell a voter that this may seem high, but we've looked into other alternatives, and this is what we feel is the best bang for our buck to get these things that we want. I'm not sure that what I'm looking at is the best bang for our buck to get things done. $1 million to remodel an auditorium. I made a phone call to a company that sells state auditorium chairs. I got a bid from a place out of Kansas City to come do that. They really figured that they could put new seating in there for about $205,000. If that's the case, to put new chairs in there for $200,000, we still have another $850,000 that we set aside to paint the ceiling and put a curtain in.
Yeah, my assumption, I don't want to get into the weeds. I don't disagree with any of these things. To this day, it just amazes me that I can sit in one of those auditorium seats, and to me, the crazy thing's darn near as good as it was when I was in grade school. I don't know where that quality came from, but oh my God. Just my thought on the auditorium is, I think in this day of social media and all the things that are going on, it could really be something. And I think beyond the seating and painting the ceiling, putting the curtain in, I think it would be, I envision a lot of electronic, for lack of a better word, wizardry in there. It could really be something that would have a teaching dynamic to it that is far beyond anybody around here right now can even think about, that would draw some really unbelievable things here. I think that's a real opportunity because we have the infrastructure to start with. All that being said, I think there was a lot of us on the committee that were frustrated and the way a lot of the processes were presented to us. I guess my question to the committee would be, and I'm not sure, this isn't in our area, this is in your area. And I'm not the spokesman for the committee. And the committee overwhelmingly gave you that proposal. So I guess in those, with that thought, we don't have anything else to show you today than that proposal.
I went back and just pulled up my notes here, and I may be way incorrect here, guys. I mean, on this concept that had the small gym, basically 6.6 million. Concept, this is concepts that did not connect the buildings. Concept that had the large gym, basically exact same thing as 9 million. So you're looking at $2.3 million difference there.
Not a
No,
total bid,
This is
right?
not, this is a concept that had a large gym just connected to the high school, and a concept with a small gym. So you're looking at a difference of around 2.3 million from secondary gym to making it a nice big competition gym. Now, what I believe, and you guys correct me, what led to the concept of 9 connecting the building, because we would have a $1.2 million storm shelter that we would have to build at the grade school.
In high school.
The thing about the connection of the building is the one shared storm shelter. Because obviously one of the, I'm going to use the term the weight room, is what we've always used as the concept as the storm shelter room that would be connected to the high school. So I think when those discussions were going on about just a secondary gym, it's like, we've got to spend that many million for a secondary, then make it, because one of the concepts was the renovation of our current gym to make it more usable floor space, because honestly, obviously we got to make it handicap accessible with the concrete bleachers and everything like that that we currently have. You really will never ever increase the usable floor space unless you completely renovate it. Those locker rooms are buried anyway. You know, in the renovation of a existing gym to make that more beneficial, more usable, is about $1.5 million less than building a small gym. So we're spending millions to renovate a full renovation to make it even fully. Where now I believe in the concept 9, it's bare minimum work in the gym, because we wouldn't need to, because we were gonna have the new competition gym. I mean, so it's like, you know, and I wish, you know, Sid, he always had that nice spreadsheet, and you put an X on here and it add to cost. So we take the X off, that, yeah, we gotta remove that. That's, you know, and this, and I mean, I could be way wrong. I'm just looking at my notes, guys. And I hope I'm not speaking, you know, but I guess the goal of the committee was to get you guys one, because that was the idea, is to draw the question for a bond is
That's what we were.
to have one plan to take to the,
Right.
yes, as a
Our best
representation of the
plan.
community, come with one plan.
There are, I mean, we went through 10 design options.
So Sid, I don't know how we're hear you because Derek's gone, but
I think you
can
can
call
still
him.
probably hear. I'm not
Okay.
sure we can hear
But-
him right yet.
Question for you. The board says no to this design. What do we as a committee do next?
Oh, Sid, call Derek's phone, Sid. Okay, you're on speakerphone.
If the board says no today, can you hear me?
Yes.
If the board says no today, then I think we've got several options. One, we've got the committee has the other concepts that were developed in the budgeting. If they want to show those to the board, I guess that would be, to me, the first most attractive option. And beyond that, the board would have to decide, do you want to hold to the May date? Because that was an instruction of the board. They, as a board back in, I want to say October, November, you did indicate that you wanted to have an early vote. So that's kind of what's compressed this. Yeah, I remember those instructions. So that would be the next question, is if you want to hold to that. And but I think some other people already expressed the advantages of having an early election. One being Mr. Reinhardt being available to put his shoulder to the harness as well. The committee, like I'll echo Tom's comments, really came together. So those are hopefully I answered your question.
Okay, thank you.
I said, I got a question for you. This is Tom. Okay, obviously these are not bids. Obviously, this is just your specs that you get from your, okay, this is X square feet. It costs, $167 per square foot or whatever like that when you was doing all this. All right, so bond to 23, 24 million, wherever we're at there, on this goes through, but have you had bonds, once they've been bid, they come under the bond, what happens? Let's say then it goes for, after you do all the bids, it's only 22 million. How does that work? Is there,
Okay, Tom, I'm going to talk over you if you're still talking.
I'm done.
And I've got you on mute because otherwise we'll get feedback. So, for example, at La Crosse, the bids came in approximately $500,000 under the budget. And that included about a 7% contingency. So we included the contingency in our budgeting, and because there's always things that come up, or the owner wants to, while we're at it, do this. So that contingency is significant enough. It gives them cushion to do those things.
Right.
Plus we had about a $500,000. So they chose to go ahead and spend that $500,000 on added features.
Okay.
So they didn't hold that reserve. At Little River, we had the same situation. They had close to $500,000 in theirs left over, and they're still sitting on they've spent some of that. They're still sitting on close to $500,000 of bond money 3 or 4 years later, I think, because they want to do some work that we didn't do in the bond. So
okay.
I think that answers your question.
Yeah, but basically it's and hope I give you the feedback there, sorry. But kind of like what happened in 87, if there's that contingency money that's still left over, they hold it to pay the bond off early. because the bond in 87 was paid off like 2 years early or 3 years early. And I don't remember who the person was, but I remember being told, don't let the bond lapse. You guys need to get a bond together. I don't remember who it was that told us that, Derek, but I remember somebody told us that. Should pass the bond now. I mean, this was back in, somewhere around 2008, 2010. Maybe that was before you, I guess. Maybe that might have been Randall, but I remember being told that. You need to get a bond together because you never let a bond lapse on your community, So.
Okay, where are we at as a board? What do we want to do today?
Personally, I'm wanting to do a superintendent search and do it well, and then come back to the bond. That's me. I'm not against the bond. I think your plan is a good plan. Right at the moment, it's too much money for me. I want to skinny get it up some.
Yes, for 24, this concept, or no, and then if we vote no, then we're going back to basically the drawing board. The different concepts and everything, but the point of this meeting was to say yes to the 24 no.
Correct. So if you vote no, then you go back to your committee and hopefully they stick with it and
You can go for
work
May or
on
November.
a different project. I mean, your biggest timeline right now, though, is I don't know that you can come up with a different project that they would support on Monday to move forward with a May vote. So you're looking at August, November.
I would speak that personally, I'm now, I switched from an early vote to a late vote, and I'll explain why. I think as many people that can and will vote on this bond because of its size and scope need to vote. I think we accomplished that by having a later vote. I don't think that.
Meeting in August or November.
Yeah, meeting in August or November vote. I really want a lot of people voting on this. Whether it passes or whether it doesn't, I would rather see more people vote than not on this because of its size and scope. I don't think we get that if we do an early vote. May is going to be an action-packed month with Old Settlers and Memorial Day and graduation. I don't like to feel like we're sneaking a vote in there amongst all these other major things. So whether we vote to allow to get, whether I vote to have it go to the public or not, I would be pro late vote. And in addition to that, I really think it's very important for me to put the bond on hold until we have a superintendent. Because that's a huge decision for the school. I think that's a very big decision for us as a board. And I know some people are pro or anti, but I think it's very important to have if we find a superintendent that puts in as many years as Derek did for us, it'd be nice to have him 100% in favor. Take another look at this. We could find a green one, and so he wouldn't help much with the bond, in my opinion. We could find somebody that's seasoned, that's been a superintendent for 15, 20 years that comes here to do the last half of his, and he might be very seasoned in something like this. I'd rather know what the answer to that before we move forward.
What if you don't have a superintendent?
What if we don't have one?
But now we're talking 2-3 years down the line, and now we're talking 35 million.
That was my question.
I'm just saying for the same things.
What does he think the cost, the differential is going to be in 6 months to a year?
Yeah.
I mean, we all know nothing gets cheaper, so I mean that's something we have to consider. But I don't know what Sid has to say about that.
That's good. I mean, I agree. That's a good question. I just, I'm putting faith in that we're gonna find a candidate. I
And,
mean,
and that we can vote on it in November.
Yeah.
Whichever way you want to vote.
So is what you guys are suggesting that the committee does no more work in between now and we just keep this plan? We
No,
put
I'd like
this-
them to bring other things back.
Put this plan on the ballot in November.
I would like the bond to be in that 10 to 13 million. I wouldn't mind seeing a practice gym north of the high school in a steel building. I see a lot of schools that have done that.
Realistically, I think we're looking at 14 to 18 if you change it.
anything with a gym is 14.
Well, anything with what we did for security purposes and your
EDA.
storm shelters
All
and the
the
ADA of the
upgrades,
gym
yeah.
and auditorium is 13. So then if you had a secondary gym, that's why I'm pushing it up to around 18.
100%.
Probably.
So to do
100%.
everything on the list that we gave you guys is 13, like minimum anything to
With
get that
the
list
storm.
accomplished
That
is
would be
13.
13 without the auditorium, right? So that.
Yes.
So you have to-
Without the auditorium.
You're gonna be over
14.
14 to hit the.
So we're realistically looking at 15 just to get our list accomplished.
Yes.
I
With
think 15 is
necessities.
the minimum.
Yeah.
After looking at what I've looked at too. 15 is the absolute minimum. I'm not sure you're gonna be happy with it.
I think when we were looking at it as a committee too, like, we had talked about do something that you can see and then something we can't see, right? The 15 million would have been all things people can't see. It's the infrastructure, it's the storm.
Well,
shelters, the-
Sort
Wasn't
of,
it-
sort of not.
Was it
So-
mixed?
Come in. Yeah, it was kind of.
So, and I'm just shooting from the hip, but, at 15 million, I'm assuming, these are big assumptions now. I'm assuming that the board's gonna be willing to build a storm shelter in the grade school. That's an assumption. You may not be willing to build a storm shelter in grade school. A storm shelter in grade school, $1 million.
Because it added a new room.
Do we not have a storm shelter in our grade school then?
Not
We
a
got
We
the
don't have a
locker room.
we don't have a certified storm shelter in the
We
school
don't have
district.
a rated one.
Mm-mm.
And
I've
the
only-
reason
I've-
is, the locker rooms are below grade and kids have drowned in locker room storm shelters, I've been told.
Burst
I
pipes.
don't know.
and flooding.
I Googled that. I could only find one person that drowned in a below grade structure. It was a woman in Oklahoma in 2015.
I'm not for sure what all they lost, but my understanding is there were some kids in the school in that Oklahoma tornado that drowned in their storm shelters because they're below grade. I don't know if it was one or two.
So not necessarily
20.
rainwater. It's
No, it's.
Burst
It was
pipes.
burst
plumbing.
pipe plumbing.
It was plumbing.
So currently we use, in the high school, we use the boys or the girls locker room.
Girls locker room side.
These girls,
And in here we use the like the boys
elementary-
locker room.
well, the elementary school, they go into the bathrooms, but those aren't storm shelters.
Oh,
they're just
the
interior
above ground, the
rooms.
regular
Yeah.
level. Okay.
They use the locker room and the bathrooms in the new part of the elementary school. But those are not certified storm shelters.
And the storm shelter that they talked about building, it's literally probably solid concrete, heavy
Exactly.
bunker
Yeah.
style.
Yeah.
Large
yeah,
bunker.
Yeah, and like I say, the board was diligent, or the committee was diligent, we chased this stuff. Because the first thing I saw was a new kindergarten room in the grade school. What do we need that for? What are you gonna do with the old kindergarten room? Well, we haven't figured that out, but we need a storm shelter over here. And this is, these are all kind of the processes that we went through. So, if you're wanting to tear down, and that's okay, but the other side of this is, as I spoke in the meeting last Thursday, my assumption is that the board would okay certified storm shelters. My assumption is the board would okay security entrances. My hope was that and my assumption is that the board wants infrastructure improvements that you've agreed are $10 million that are necessary, because I've heard that. My hope is the auditorium gets refurbished, because I think that has the opportunity to be an unbelievable drawing card. My assumption is that the locker rooms that have been horrible for decades get redone. So, you know, when you're wanting the minimum that you can come forward with and improve and do the things our school needs, if you add a practice gym of any description, you're gonna get to 16, 17 million.
I think there was one concept that was new locker rooms, ADA seating to the current gym. You could put a weight room or not the weight room. Did the weight room, it was almost 17 million. And then if you did the auditorium, you're already at 18.
And that was another frustrating part to me was, I don't think that auditorium should ever been a separate line item. That was my feeling. But my feeling was that auditorium should have been in every bid. And it was, you know, and even in watching all this happen, and I just watched it happen time and time again, in that, you know, as we were working through all these concepts, and everybody said, well, the auditorium's got to be handled, and it was $1 million. It's always sitting over here. So in your mind, you always had to go, well, this is fine, but we're going to do the auditorium. It's another $1 million. So, you know, there was a lot of presentation about the whole thing that, you know, that the committee itself multiple times expressed a little bit of aggravation about, because it was extremely hard to follow. But in their defense, they were coming out with so crazy many options that it was also hard to keep track of. But don't misunderstand, the committee understands that there's a lot of difference in a couple $1 million, because there is. But under those circumstances, I guess we have one thing to show you today.
Just like I said, looking at several of these different concepts, the bottom line, the 15 million, the 15 million bond would be no new gym. It would be locker and weights. It would be grade school storm shelter. But that also does not include the auditorium and stage refinishing.
Puts it at.
So then you'd have to add another 1.08 million. I should say it's a 14.88 bond on the ones that we're looking at there, the different plans that we had looked at.
Okay, I feel like we're spinning our wheels here. Maybe that's just me.
Exactly.
But I feel like we're spinning our wheels. So we need to make a decision on what we're going to do today. And so I think that, to me, that's two things based on the discussion we've had today. There can be a motion and we can vote on it, or we say there's consensus and this is what we want to do moving forward. Would you agree, Derek, that that's where we're at right now?
Yeah, I would say either yes or no to the project they presented you. And if the answer is no, you should probably give some direction to the committee and see if we can keep them together and keep working.
Yeah, I would hope we give it the committee some type of answer. So I hope if we want to push it off, that's a different vote.
I would like for the committee to go back to the drawing board and bring us a cheaper proposal. There might have to be some give and take on it. You may not get everything you want.
But that still comes down to the vote to approve or disapprove this issue they brought to us, correct?
I think we
Essentially
need
what
to have a
That's essentially
vote
what Tom's wanting
for
is
what's
to
on
approve or
there,
disapprove.
to approve this plan and take it to the votes. And then, like Derek said, a
Change.
second vote to how you want to move forward.
Okay,
I don't think a consensus is gonna work on this vote.
okay, so we need a motion either to approve this plan and send it to a May election, or to a specific motion with direction for Sid and the committee moving forward.
Are those two separate things?
We need one or the other. So we either need a motion to approve this and send it, move everything forward as planned for a May election, or we need a motion that has some detail in it for what we would like to do next.
I guess I would make a motion to vote on the bond issue in front of us
It meaning,
as is,
meaning
to
to
go to a
approve
vote
this.
in May.
Moving to me, so you mean
Yes.
to approve this. So we have a motion to approve what has been presented and move forward with a May election. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Does everybody feel like they have had the opportunity to discuss or to bring any issues forward that they feel?
And this is just to
brought
let
forward?
the public vote on it. That's all
Yes.
we're doing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So we have a motion and a second. Does anybody else have anything that they would like to add? If not, all those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, please raise your hand. So we have 4-3, so it passes, not overwhelmingly. We'll move forward and see what the public thinks of it. Thank you guys for your time, for being here today. I very much appreciate it. Sid, thank you. Anything else? All right, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. In fact, I'll make the motion. All those in favor, raise your hand.
Next Monday.
Oh. Coming up, Jason?
We need to be paid something.